Hello everyone, welcome to our series that explores every single tool in the myCADtools suite. Previously we've talked about the batch converter, which takes entire folders filled with SolidWorks files and allows you to convert them into all sorts of different file types such as PDF and DWG. Well, today we're going to take a look at a tool called the BatchProperties tool, and similarly it allows you to take entire folders of SolidWorks files, only this time we're going to be adding specific properties to that batch of files. So if we take a look at the example here, in a project of 300 parts where property management is needed on every part, if it takes an average of 1 minute for each document, you save 5 working hours. That's time that you definitely want to save, and how the batch properties does it is it makes it possible to apply either SolidWorks or Windows properties, and this actually should be SolidWorks and or Windows properties because you can add them simultaneously, and you can add those SolidWorks or Windows properties to a set of SolidWorks files. This avoids opening your documents one by one and then creating or modifying those custom properties. So what the Batch Properties tool does is it associates the personalized properties to a set of files in a folder, and you can add, mix, rename, or suppress all of those properties. We're also given filters on the types of files in the properties, similar to most tools in the myCADtools suite. And one interesting fact about the Batch Properties is it works independently of SolidWorks. You don't even need to have SolidWorks installed on your computer for this tool to work. So let's take a look at the batch properties in the myCADtools suite. So as you can see, I don't have SolidWorks open. As I mentioned earlier, it's not necessary for SolidWorks to be open, and in fact this particular tool needs to be open from the myCADtools 2013 folder, and that can be found in your program files, myCADtools, and myCADtools 13. So when we open up the batch properties folder, I'll go ahead and run the batch properties exe file. Okay, so if you've watched any of our previous videos on other myCADtools, this tool interface will look pretty familiar. We can add folders and single files, and we can treat subfolders and their dependencies. We have all kinds of filters here based on part, assembly, or drawing, or even some templates. We can filter out fastener components or toolbox components and sort by all these different parameters. But for our purposes, I'm just going to leave part, assembly, and drawing selected. Over on the left, we have this little collapse and expand button that collapses this file selection window. And then we have some basic Windows sorting options on the side. So most of what happens in the Batch Properties tool is going to happen right here under File Properties. Right now, the number of properties to add is set to just 1, but we can toggle this up or down and add virtually as many as we'd like. Let's start with 4. So next we go to the drop down of the first one. I'm going to add a description, and I'm just going to call this Batch Properties. Now keep in mind, by having subfolders and dependencies selected, this property and every property that we add will be added to every part of either an assembly part or drawing that we add up here in this file selection area here. So I'll keep going, add some more. Let's just mark this revision A. And how about a date of creation? Let's go ahead and put today's date. You'll notice that some of these are actually in French, and that's because the developers of myCADtools are actually French, but we don't fault them too much for that. However, if you're not interested in translating, there is an option to change any one of these properties right back here in the Batch Properties folder where we found this batchproperties.exe file. If we go down in this folder to our file called properties.txt, then we have each one of these properties right here. And since this is a text file, we can modify it just by deleting and typing in whatever property we would like. However, I'll just leave it as is. Don't save. I just wanted to show you that you can modify the properties list that shows up in the batch properties. But I'm going to choose auteur here, which is author, and just put myself. So now if I were to hit apply, absolutely nothing would happen. The simple reason for that being that we haven't selected any files to treat, so it looks like we're not quite done. As I said earlier, we can add folders or single files, but I prefer to just drag and drop straight from Windows. I have this assembly here, and by dragging that in, it drags not only the assembly, but all of the part files associated with that assembly as well. So now we're almost ready to go, but instead of hitting apply, I do want to see what we have under summary properties. This middle tab called summary properties is for Windows specific properties that you'd like to add to these files. These are properties that actually show up right here under the file that you want to select, completely independent of SolidWorks. So let's just go ahead and put a title, Batch Properties. And I'm just going to put myself as the author again. And now let's take a look at this last tab, SolidWorks Properties. and we have a way that we can modify is fastener status and modify the toolbox status. And this is in case any of the files up here are fasteners or toolbox parts. We just have a few different options if that's the case. However, we're just going to leave it as is. Now all we have to do is hit apply. So would you like to view the log? I'll click yes, and that'll bring up our standard HTML that's very familiar. And this shows us our number of properties, number of documents successfully processed, and gives you all of this right here in a nice little report. So the only way to actually see how it works is to open up this model. And now let's just go up to the file properties. And just like we expect, we have author, date creation, revision, and batch properties under description right here. So all four of those properties showed up. Pretty slick. However, let's make sure that all of those custom properties showed up on all of the dependent features that are involved with this assembly. And looks like we got quite a few here, so let's just double check description, batch properties, that one's there. And at the bottom we have author, date creation, and revision, all right there, ready to rock. So now that we've seen that all the SolidWorks properties do copy over, let's go ahead and take a look at our Windows properties to make sure that those are there too. We see we have title, batch properties shows up, and under title, batch properties, and under authors, I show up as well. So the batch properties tool is a really great way to add SolidWorks properties to a number of different SolidWorks files, as well as Windows properties that may shed some light on individual properties of that document. So that's the batch properties tool in the myCADtools suite. It's a really handy tool that can save you a lot of time. So thanks for watching. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email us at solidworksupport@mlc-cad.com, and we'll see you next time.